Tell me what your life was like before you died.
I was 29 when it happened. So before that, I had a full-time, pretty successful practice in Chinese medicine. I was an avid rock climber. I was fit. I had a friend group. Everything was good. I was newly married and everything was really good. I feel like I had reached the pinnacle of what we were supposed to have in life, and then I died. So my mom's from Japan, so I think her family was Shinto, and then I've been to a lot of Buddhist funerals and things like that growing up, and then my dad grew up Catholic and then Christian, but both of them had some experiences in the church that weren't really positive, and so we didn't grow up with religion. Not strong. I think I got to go to Sunday school a little bit, but I kind of joke that I wonder if that was just babysitting for them, because I don't think they were going to church. So this story, I don't want to it triggers people, but what happened was I went to somebody practicing alternative medicine who should have been licensed and was practicing basically as a licensed alternative doctor. And later I found out that she was not licensed, had never been to school, and was ordering it through somebody else's doctorate license, her equipment she was using on me. So she injured me to the point of having a near-death experience. I found out later the fifth person she had injured. One person was in intensive care. She had already gone up against the Attorney General of that state, and that is basically what happened. So, but yes, I guess it was a wake-up call, because I was on track, and then there was a missing piece. So that's how it happened. I kind of wish, because I think it would have made more sense to me. I actually didn't. I got sicker and sicker and sicker, but it wasn't something that I could pinpoint and say, oh, this is happening. I just felt off. I felt very off, very weird. And it was actually the next day that I had the near-death experience, and I was just something's wrong. I don't know if you've ever had anything go wrong in your body. I mean, anything from I've had my appendix out, right? And you just know something's wrong inside of me. And it was like that, but since I've had both experiences of appendectomy and that, it was times 1,000. Something's very wrong, but I couldn't put my finger. I wasn't nothing hurt in one place, right? And I had worked in a neurotrauma intensive care, so I'm kind of nurses and doctors, we make the worst patients in a way, because we're assessing, and I'm no, I'm fine. And so I went to lie down, and that's when it happened. It was all of the life force just drained out of my body. So I was lying there feeling this crushing weight on my chest. It felt like iron, an iron weight was on my chest, and I felt breathing was so hard, right? I was pushing this weight up and letting it fall, and pushing it back up and letting it fall. And eventually I just thought, I think I'll let it fall. And when I did that is when I died. And in the same moment, I recognized that I wasn't gonna die because there was no death. But I remember feeling before that moment, my blood felt like it was made of lead. Everything was so heavy and breathing was so difficult. And I just thought, breathing's really hard. Why am I doing this? Because it was all of a sudden this epiphany that I don't have to do this. I don't have to do this. And it didn't feel, again, like I was dying. It didn't feel like the scary or sad thing. And so I did take my last breath. And that's when I was feeling the life force drain out of my body, like you would drain a pool. And then I saw this, it was like it was almost always there, but this light, 1,000 suns shining at my forehead. And it was so familiar and so warm, it had always been there. And I just remember feeling wow, breathing's really overrated. It's funny, we think we have to do it. And I just felt oh wow, this is so much better, right? And still having this idea that I guess I'm dying, but I'm also not. So it was so familiar. This process felt very familiar to me. And so after that, I guess I was floating above my body, because I remember watching my husband in the kitchen. He was actually brewing a medicinal tea, because we knew I didn't feel well. We weren't sure what, so I'd asked him for something Chinese medicine wise, put those herbs together, maybe I'll feel better. I didn't believe I was dying. I just thought I didn't feel well. I didn't know what was happening. So I watched him, and I remember saying goodbye and feeling so much love for him, and just knowing that he would be okay, and he would remarry, and everything would be okay. And it might not be the same as what we have, but he would be okay. And then from there, I sort of went into more of the near-death experience, where I said goodbye to my family, and then I stepped behind the veil. I wasn't stepping because I wasn't in my body anymore. And so beyond the veil was where everything started to unfold and take place. And that's where I had my life review. And I got to see everything that was important, right? All the moments of decision and interaction that mattered. And that's where my life review really started. I was in kindergarten, so I was 4 or 5 years old, even at that age, but I was doing it intentionally to hurt somebody. And I was teasing her about something, and I made her cry, being mean to this little girl. And from her point of view, like I was inside her body feeling what she was feeling, and I was just being mean and teasing her about something. It had to do with like dog prints in the cement. It was really silly. And I told her that the dog had died. And how would you like it if you died and people laughed at you? And I was just being really mean. And I was feeling from her standpoint, I could hear in her head, why is she doing this? Why is she being so mean to me? She didn't understand. And she started to well up and cry. And then I stopped being mean to her because I made her cry and I didn't want to get in trouble. So that was my first big life experience in the life review. It didn't matter how little I was doing this on purpose, and we are not to ever intentionally hurt somebody. And so I learned really never to be that way. So I went through the life review and I saw, again, all the pivotal moments of, the way I describe it is when I was soul aligned versus when I was ego aligned. Because it's not really bad or good, it's just, are you coming home or are you going away from home? Within yourself, within your soul. And so, seeing a lot and just feeling gratitude. And the only way I could put it is like gratitude from the universe, gratitude from God when I was doing a good job, but so much gratitude that it would explode me if I could feel it in this human body. And also my own deep regret and disappointment when I did something ego-based. It wasn't from the universe. The universe was impartial, it was non-judgmental, except when I was doing something good and there was just like tremendous love. And maybe it was my love for my own soul, right? Because there is nobody else, right? We're all one. But I was experiencing duality still. So feeling that love and then also feeling that deep regret when I was out of alignment. But I will say in my life review, it felt very much like this benevolent being watching over me kind of with a smirk, like, yep, I know. But there was just so much love. There could never be, there was no duality to love. So there couldn't be judgment because there was no opposite. And I think the whole purpose of my near death was just to remind me to get to work. So I didn't see that. I got downloaded with, I didn't know what it was. They have this huge experience. And so after that life review of seeing everything, and I was only 29, so I hadn't lived that long. And a lot of it was just mistakes I made. The biggest mistake, honestly, was the intentional one when I was little. That was the biggest thing I came back with, because I think we can excuse ourselves. And I realized, no, we can't. No, you're not in trouble, but don't do that. So after that, they actually cleared me of something. I remember seeing this silhouette dropping through a big round light. And I remember asking this guide, what is that? And they said, it's the part of you that gets attached. And we just in the silence watched it move through this tunnel of light. And then we moved on to the next phase, which was meeting these 4 beings. But I can't tell you what they looked like because they weren't in form. So it was like these beings of just infinite love, but I could tell there was 4 of them. And they just showered me with this intense, unconditional divine love. Again, it would have exploded a human body. We couldn't accept that much in an incarnate. And I felt so connected to them. And then it was almost like we were having a meeting. And it was this very sacred moment where I could tell they were connecting to me and giving me some information that I would use later. And so we just sat in the quiet, we didn't sit, but we were there in the quiet, the stillness. And then when that was complete, I was like, okay, whatever that is, I'll use it at a later date. I didn't know what it was. And I remember just, again, it's so funny, these human limitations, the words we have, I'll say standing. I'm not standing anywhere because I'm not in a body, but it felt like I was standing and watching out throughout the universe. And I just had this full realization of who I am, that I was never Mariko. I was never a rock climber. I was never anything I thought I was, and that I was finally me. And I am love, I am joy, I am bliss, I am peace. This is who I am. And everything I was just kind of melted away. And I realized and felt that we are all one. So I could never be Mariko because we're one. So I'm having this awakening realization and just feeling the bliss of the universe. For people have asked me how long, and it was like, I don't know, 800 years? It felt like I had a whole lifetime. Just lifetime here is just a blip, right? So it just felt like that's where I was, experiencing infinite time as my true reality, my true identity as the infinite soul. And that's when I heard the voice say, it's not your time. You have to go back. To which I responded, no. Because go back and be who, right? I'd been here so long. I was like, what? And then they said, you have to go back. You have to go back and help people. It's not your time. And the way I communicated was what I call through a thought wave. So it was like a wave of everything I'm trying to communicate, but in a thought, but it wasn't through words, it wasn't verbal. And I communicated that back. And then again, they communicated to me, it's not my time, I have to go back and help people. And they explained that everybody has a time, and you can't go before and you can't go after. And this is not your time. You have to go back and help people. And I understood at that moment, okay, I'll do it. I've got something big, I've got something more to do, whatever that is. And I remember I was like trying to get back in my body, and I didn't know how, because how do you do that? So I was like, okay, nothing happened. And so I told them I can't get back in my body, to which they then, like, I felt like I was being hurled through space. And then I was in my body, I took a breath, and there was just raking pain. And I thought, I've got to get to the hospital. And as soon as I had that thought, it was almost like I was back again with them just a little bit. And they said, don't use Western medicine. And they let me know that if I did, it would interrupt whatever had taken place, whatever light codes I'd gotten, whatever was happening. I realized that was not the path, which was hard because I had worked in a trauma intensive care. And so, my logical mind is like, you need to go to the hospital. And so they sort of let me know, but on such a deep level that I really understood it. And then I came back and what I knew I was meant to do. So my support system was my husband, who was there when it happened. And the big message when I came back and they said, remember who you are, I was like, oh, really? I have to do that? So I stayed conscious between lifetimes, and I thought everyone did. I thought it was totally normal. I didn't know until I was about 19 years old when someone told me that people don't remember in between lifetimes. So for me, remember who you are, go back and help people, was them calling me to start sharing my story of what happens to us in between lifetimes. Because I thought, I didn't know. I didn't know that people didn't remember that. Or not remember like they forgot, but I didn't know that everyone didn't experience one long lifetime. It's funny because in some ways people say I don't remember, but every time I tell my story, it's like you do remember. There's a remembrance inside of you. So when in my last life, I died, and I died probably around the age I am now. I think I was in my 40s. I had a young daughter. I was a male. My wife had died. I remember the whole process of dying. I remember lying in bed and having my friends and family around. And again, feeling familiar, even though I didn't want to die and I was like clinging to life, also feeling that this process was very familiar, going through my life review. And this is the one that really hits me. When they took me through that life review, they showed me what I could have done, my potential. Had I lived the assignment on my soul, had I done what they told me to do all along, this is what would have happened. You would have helped people exponentially. Your life would have been more impactful for others. And so I said, okay, send me back, I'll do it. I understand now, I'm sorry, I'll do it. Send me back in. And they said, you can't. You're dead, it's too late, and you'll never be that person again. So I live with that every day, that deep regret of wanting to live the assignment on my soul, and at the same time feeling like, a little nervous about it. And I was like that my whole life. So I went from there, and actually I didn't go right into the higher realms because I had this young daughter, and I felt like I didn't want to leave her. And so I sort of stayed in this in-between, watching her, almost like I was watching a movie. And she was crying, and she was in bed all the time. And it wasn't until she started living her life and started to feel happy again that I realized I need to go on with my life. She's living her life, and it's time for me to go live mine. And at that point, I went into the higher realm. I went into the astral realm, which is a world made of light. And you come into a light body, and it's where you're using your chakras and you're telepathic. I think a lot of people would feel that this is heaven. I remember when I first got there, I couldn't move or see anything. It was just like everything around me was white. And then I realized, I have to open my spiritual eye. Not that I had that thought, but it was like, oh, right, I know how to do this. And then as I opened it, I remember the world around me just came alive on this. It was like a planet. It's a higher realm, but it was a planet. And I remember just looking at my body and feeling like, oh, right, this is who I am. And I felt a lot taller and very young and just healthy, so healthy. Like being sick was like impossible. And feeling just this radiant love and peace. And I remember looking down and just seeing the grass underneath my feet. I had bare feet, and just looking down and seeing this emerald green grass shooting up all around me, and recognizing that this world, we only see half the rainbow on Earth, and there's a whole different category of color there. And again, it's so familiar when you're experiencing it. You're like, oh, right, I knew that, right? And just experiencing water moving through this river, but it was made of light, and everything there is made of light. And I had this entire lifetime. We're here to release all of the roles that we think we are. On Earth, in the astral realm, you don't want to have a role. And I don't remember the details. There was just love and joy and excitement. And from there, It almost felt like a celebration with so many of the beings in that realm. I got to go into the higher realm and incarnate in the causal realm and have a whole lifetime there. So each lifetime, we're in infinite time, so I don't know how long I was there. And that's where they did a life review with me. So from the plant kingdom to the animal kingdom to the human kingdom, I got to see all of my lifetimes and experience all of them. The essence of me was still there, even in the other lifetimes. The first thing is keep it simple. You guys, I think people are overthinking it. They're over pressuring themselves. Like, take the pressure off. The only thing you're here to do is not a doing. It's a being. The only thing that we're here for is enlightenment and self-realization at the very beginning, right? To realize and remember who you are as the soul. And then move into, oh, I am oneness consciousness. There is no one else. That's the only thing we're here for. That's the experience the universe is having through us, of moving away from itself to come back to itself. And then we complicate it with jobs. And we complicate it with these roles that we want to play, because we do want to do something. And I just said a little while ago, get up and do something. The doing comes out of your soul, right? So the doing comes from our soul of like, this is what I have to do. I believe in you. And feeling that my future self believe in me got me where I am. Oneness consciousness, it's ever expanding you and me. It's our true identity. It's the ultimate reality with no opposite. To remember who you are.